that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. So lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey and the outstandingly famous Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
In the flesh. So, what we're doing here is reporting on the news for energy and climate change. And every day I go to the internet and do as much searching for news as I can on those subjects, and get about 10 to 15 articles which go to my blog, geoharvey.com. And you can go to my blog if you are interested in one of the stories that we're reporting on, and get a kind of an understanding of what's happening there.
Well,
go into the story in more
into
depth.
Some really great stories, and a bunch of them. We don't have time to talk about all of them.
We don't have time. Although,
so, if you've seen something that you want to look at, many of them are well worth doing.
Yep.
Click on
geoharvey.com.
Okay.
If you do geoharvey.wordpress.com, you'll get there just as well.
Okay.
And there's a calendar there, and you can look at the calendar and click on the date. And you know what I'm going to do? You click on the date, and that'll give you the news items for that day.
For that day, of
Yeah.
which there's about a dozen.
I'm going to start with something that we're not supposed to talk about this week. We're supposed to talk about next week, because our week starts on the 20th of October and ends on the 26th. And today, when we're recording this, is the 27th. But there was an item in the news that got me furious. And the item was a report from the London Zoological Society and the World Wildlife Fund.
This, yeah.
They did a report that basically said we are losing wildlife fast enough that by 2000 we will have lost 2/3 of our wildlife. This is fish, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and mammals. We will have had
not counting insects.
They didn't
They didn't even think about that.
Well, they might have. I don't know, but they were reporting on vertebrates, and they said we have lost 2/3 of them, and will have lost 2/3 of them by 2020. And of course, the news media says unless we
2/3 of them by 2020.
That's right. We don't have any.
Week.
Yeah, it's we don't have time to stop this. And the news media is saying unless we do something about it. Well, what are we doing about it? We're telling the people up in the mountains that they shouldn't have wind turbines on the mountaintops because they will be bad for the wildlife. I'm sorry. If you are saying such a thing, then you are, in my opinion, sorry for the term, fatuous. Or possibly just mean. And motivated by something which is giving comfort to the fossil fuels industry, which had revenues in 2014 that were about double the United States federal budget, and that's just the 21 largest companies, and they are lying, cheating, stealing, and killing to get their stuff sold. And I have no patience.
They got a lot of money invested in.
Another person dies as a result of outdoor air pollution, most of which comes from the fossil fuels company every 10 seconds. We are killing people in this world by driving cars, by generating electricity with coal and gas, by fracking, by that sort of thing, killing people at a rate which is approximately equal.
The money's rolling in.
Yeah, the money's rolling in. Approximately equal to the rate at which soldiers and sailors died during the Second World War. But don't worry about those wind turbines going up. We got to stop them because they're bad for human health. I got news for you. The Australian Medical Association says that wind turbine syndrome is real, and Tom knows what it is. What is it, Tom?
Well, it's caused by a virus.
Yeah.
And the virus is spread by word of mouth.
By word of mouth. They said wind turbine syndrome is the result of the scare tactics of anti-wind activists. I am not kidding. It is a placebo effect. And don't you tell me for a minute that I'm putting the blame for this on the victims. I'm putting blame on perpetrators, people who are doing this to people. Sorry.
It's scary.
It
They're
is
trying
scary.
to scare them, and it's working.
That's right. It's working. And now we're going to have the people up in the northern part of Windham County voting against wind turbines, I suspect. And the reason is because they have been told a bunch of things that are simply not true, and they're not interested in going out and finding out the facts for themselves. By the way, property values do not go down because of wind turbines, and in some cases they have gone up. Do the research.
Well, we ought to show. We don't have it with us. We ought to show a picture of the wind of the ridge line there that we're trying to save.
Oh.
It's already got a double transmission line on it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too.
Yeah.
If we don't put up wind turbines,
Yeah.
and we don't put up a utility scale
put up more transmission
solar,
lines.
then we're going to have to put up more transmission lines. We're going to have to increase the amount of electricity that we're getting in the state by at least 2, possibly 3, in order to do all our transportation and heating using electricity.
Which is what's coming, and
Which
we're going
is
to be
what's
talking
coming.
about that.
Yeah. And so what does that mean? Well, if we don't have the wind turbines and we don't have the utility scale solar, then we're going to have transmission lines. And instead of having a few wind turbines on the mountaintops, which, by the way, some people think are pretty,
I can attest to that.
I think they're pretty.
I can attest to that.
There was a very interesting study done in Cornwall.
Mm-hmm.
How many tourists thought that they were repelled by them? How many were attracted by them? 90% said they didn't care. 2% said that they were repelled by the wind turbines. 8% said they were attracted. 2%.
Well, I can attest to that personally.
Yeah.
Back 15 years ago or something like that, I was a motor coach tour guide at Mount Snow.
Yes.
And I would get on a bus and go with the guys around to various attractions. And almost every trip somebody took, we went down to Deerfield, Deerfield, Mass, because it's a nice trip, didn't cost us anything.
Yep.
And on the way back, we'd be coming down Route 9, and we go over to Hogback Mountain, come down the hill somewhere around Molly Stark State Park.
Yes.
And you can see the windmills in the distance.
Yes.
And invariably,
Somebody
somebody
would
on the
say,
bus would see him.
What
What's
is that? Yeah. They're
And
actually.
I tell them what it was, and then, do we have time to go see him?
Yeah.
And if we had time, we went to go see him, and these people would get out of the bus and take pictures and ooh and ah, and they weren't in any way repelled by these things.
Yes.
So
And-
anybody
and
that's saying that
by
this
the
is going to
way,
hurt tourism it doesn't know what they're talking
Somebody,
about.
the first stories that I heard about birds being killed, I wanted to find out what the truth is. You got to look this stuff up for yourself.
Yeah.
I went to see what the truth was about bird mortalities, and I found a thing saying in 2014, 440,000 birds were killed by wind turbines in the United States. So I said, what does that mean? You know, instead of saying, wow, that's a lot of birds.
Well, it is
I
a lot of birds.
Said, what does that mean? Well, it's about the
put it-
number.
gotta put it
It's
in
about the
reference.
number that's killed in a meat processing plant where they're processing chickens in about 2 days on one assembly line. It's just, but nevertheless,
Yeah, but we're
I
gonna
went
eat the
looking for,
chickens.
is this a lot of birds, and how do they do estimates of these birds?
Yeah.
And what I came to was a 2012, I'm sorry, it wasn't a 2012 study, it was earlier than that, but it was a study about one site, just one site, and avian mortality. And during the inventory period, and they counted a third of the birds and estimated 2/3. During the inventory period, they found 5,000 birds had been killed, estimated and counted combined, at that one site. That's a lot of birds. In the inventory period of 48 hours.
Okay.
Now, 440,000 birds in a year in the United States, that's another bird every 73 seconds. 5,000 birds in 48 hours, that's a bird every 35 seconds, and it's at one site
Yeah.
with 7 generators. 1 nuclear, 6 coal.
With cooling towers.
Yeah. And
cooling towers
not a
kill-
wind turbine
kill
in
more
sight.
birds than-
And fossil fuels are estimated to kill birds about 30 times as fast as wind turbines in terms of the amount of energy
Well, you're
you
not
produce.
hearing that.
No. We have to get to work.
I think so.
Absolutely. So we'll start with
Well, let's get the first one
the
up here.
desert
now.
wind and solar energy
We
image
got a
from
pic- we got a
iStock.
picture to come up.
And this article came from North American Wind Power.
California and Mexico grid operators partner for a successful energy future.
As the Western energy imbalance market, that's a funny term, energy imbalance market, continues to yield proven benefits, the California Independent System Operator and El Centro Nacional, I don't know how to pronounce Spanish, the National Control System in Mexico have announced that a Mexican electric system operator has agreed to explore the participation of its Baja California Norte grid in the real-time market.
I looked up Baja California just to get caught up.
Yeah,
It's a long peninsula
Yeah.
hanging down from
it
California.
sure is a long peninsula.
And it's the second longest peninsula in the world.
Is it really? After what?
I don't know.
Oh,
The Malay Peninsula, maybe?
maybe. Yeah,
But
that
it-
makes
but
sense.
But in any case, it's divided into two states. Baja California. Baja means lower.
Yeah,
So Baja California del Norte
yeah,
and del Sur.
Yes.
North and south. And
Yeah.
it's two separate states. They split it about equally.
yeah.
And the northern one is connected to the California grid.
This is sounding like
And
an
the
old
southern
song.
one
It's
isn't.
Connected to the grid. Yes, go ahead.
And that's what this is about, that I guess because they're connected to the California grid, after many, many years, they finally agreed that they're going to get together on some plans to streamline the use of that grid a little bit more.
Yeah.
The Mexican energy system is owned by the government,
Yes,
and the California energy system is not. So.
yes.
So they couldn't agree to agree.
Well,
But
they're
they're
working
agreeing
on
to
it.
agree.
They're working on it. Our next item is from the Independent.
Okay, let's get this guy up here. Scientists accidentally turn pollution into renewable energy. This is a good story.
This is a good
very
story,
good
and it's
story.
been coming up over and over and
We
over
talked
again in
about
the
it
news.
already. Sort of.
Something like this kind of thing keeps coming up, but this one was interesting partly because it was an accident. Scientists have accidentally discovered a way to reverse the combustion process, turning carbon dioxide back into fuel ethanol. Because the materials are relatively cheap, they believe the process could be used in industrial processes, for example, to store excess electricity generated by wind and solar power. Now, this is from the Independent. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there was another of this one today, which we will talk about next week. But it's again and again, we're coming to a point where it's carbon dioxide captured from the water.
Well, they're playing with nanotechnology
Yes.
here that they never got a chance to
Yes.
play with before.
Yep.
And the accident that happened here is they were looking for methanol, and they got ethanol.
Well, isn't
which
that
it
handy?
turns out is more valuable to them than methanol,
And not only that,
because you can run a car on methanol.
you can run a car on ethanol.
On ethanol.
On
I meant,
ethanol.
yeah.
You could probably run a car on methanol, but I don't
Well, you're
like
gonna
the
have to
idea of
change
having
something.
methanol all over the place because this stuff is poisonous. In a
So
way that
actually-
ethanol is poisonous too, but methanol,
No, ethanol, well, it is poisonous, but that's what you drink.
that's what you drink. Methanol, you get too much exposure to methanol,
go
you're going to go
blind,
blind.
yeah.
And the damage that it does to your optic nerve is irreversible
Yeah.
and is done in minute quantities. So just a tiny bit of this stuff, a constant exposure to a tiny bit of it on a regular basis will
you.
cause difficulty for a lot of people, and it's not good. So I'm always, when people want to make biodiesel or something like that, I always kind of suggest that maybe it's a good idea to use ethanol instead of methanol.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that they're working on this kind of stuff, and it's having productive value.
Yeah.
So they're going to be coming up with alternatives to gasoline, and although
We've got more ways.
electric is a better alternative.
Electric
we'll
is a
find
far
out.
better alternative, yeah,
In every way.
in every way. But if we want to have synthetic gasoline, we can do it. We don't need to get it out of the ground. Okay, our next item is from the Washington Examiner, and this is still from October 20th.
The first new nuclear plant in 20 years opens.
Yeah, this was really funny. It
Well,
opened.
They took a long time to build it.
Yeah, from 1971. And it opened, and what was the first thing it did? Shut down.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
I didn't know about that one.
It developed a problem. This is not a surprise when you have something new, but it developed a problem. And then the next thing that happened was the Fort Calhoun plant closed. So when this thing opened, we went from 99 to 100 nuclear power plants in the United States. And then,
Back to 99.
before it even turned back on again, we were back to 99. Okay, the U.S. opened its first nuclear power plant in 20 years amid growing uncertainty for the industry and the need for regulatory changes at both state and federal level. The TVA declared the $4.7 billion reactor, Unit 2 reactor at the Watts Bar nuclear plant open for business, a project that has been decades in the making. And this was just, making this thing was just a complete nightmare.
Well, there's a takeaway here.
Yeah?
California is following Vermont to close its fleet of reactors.
Yes.
Okay. While the largest nuclear power utility in the country, Exelon, has threatened to close a number of plants if they continue to lose money. We've talked about that.
But they want more money, so
want
they
more
go to
money.
the New York State
Yeah.
government and say,
Which is under suit now.
yeah, well, there are a lot of people who are saying there are better ways of getting.
Well, it's all
People
politics.
don't know one
all
thing
politics.
about nuclear reactors.
Yeah.
And this is really, I keep bringing it up. I've never heard anybody in the nuclear industry saying, you're wrong. We've had 11 meltdowns of nuclear reactors,
We don't talk much about it.
commercial nuclear reactors, which is a little over 2% of the total number that have gone online.
That doesn't sound like much, but it is.
If you go into a town and you say, I'm going to build you a new nuclear power plant, and it's only got a 2% chance of melting down during the course of its lifetime,
Goodbye.
I don't think they're going to listen much further. Yeah. And I can name all those meltdowns, so believe me, they're there.
No,
You've heard me do
I heard you
it.
talk about it, yeah.
Okay, our next item is from the Washington Examiner.
We got a picture here,
Do we?
I think.
Nope.
No?
Nope. We have a picture coming up after it. Oh, I'm sorry, that was from the Washington Examiner. We're up to Friday, October 21st. We have a picture. And this is from The Guardian.
That's the picture I have.
That's a wonderful
Beautiful,
picture.
isn't it?
Look at that. I love these ocean pictures.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. What's the
This is
title?
Sunrise sunset picture.
Yeah, it is.
Europe's offshore wind industry is booming as costs fall.
As costs on offshore wind keep dropping, installations increase. Last year, almost every third new wind turbine went up offshore. That growth has helped boost the share of wind industry in European Union's electricity supply from 2% in the year 2000 to 12% today, according to Wind Europe, a business advocacy group, and this was in The Guardian. And, you know...
Interesting little nut here.
Yeah?
A single rotation of an 8 megawatt turbine, which right now is about as big as you can get,
Yeah.
will cover the daily electricity consumption of an average British household.
One rotation.
One turbine, one rotor, one rotation.
Wow. Okay. Our next item is from Clean Technica.
Next Kraftwerke. Am I saying it right?
You're getting close.
That's its name. Next. It has
Next-
nothing to do with it being next.
Yeah, it's
Next
next
Kraftwerke.
Kraftwerke. And somebody's going to say, George, your German pronunciation is bad, but it's better than my French or Spanish.
Better than mine. Well, anyhow, next Kraftwerke reimagines and redefines the electrical grid with virtual power plants. And we talked
Absolutely.
about
with
these before.
virtual
This
power
is
plants.
brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Next Kraftwerke is delivering the next box to connect its virtual power plant in Northern Europe. The virtual power plant is a distributed network of medium and small power producing and power consuming units provided with Internet of Things connectivity to allow them to talk with and respond to Next Kraftwerke Control Center. And, you know, the concept here is so easy. You schedule loads so that they appear when there's high production, and you schedule production to match the loads. And it's
Well, that's, in a way, it's a duh.
yeah, it
But
is.
nobody has done it before.
Well,
I mean, they're pulling in
and-
all this
and-
information here and all this information there, putting it all together, and lo and behold, they got a utility.
Right, and you know, if I say virtual power plant, a lot of people are going to say, "What are you crazy?" But this is the next Kraftwerke has a virtual power plant that's 2 megawatts. I'm sorry, 2 gigawatts.
Nothing to sneeze at.
And yeah, and on top of everything else, a virtual power plant is more, it responds better to grid demand than a nuclear or coal or natural gas plant does.
It's a matter of just turning a switch.
Absolutely.
It's there already.
Absolutely. And, you know, the German reliability has increased as a result of this. This was from Clean Technica on October 21st.
Well, this is an idea that will spread, because it just makes sense.
Well, it's moving to the United States.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
It just makes sense.
We have an item here from the Peninsula.
Michigan's compliance costs from Clean Power Plan could be low based on new models.
Yeah, this is from the Thumb. That's why it's from the Northern Peninsula, maybe.
I would think the
Northern Peninsula, yeah. Michigan's
the UP.
The UP.
Yeah.
Michigan's overall cost of compliance with Environmental Protection Agency's Clean Power Plan would be achieved relatively low, according to recent reports. That is, the cost is low. Under the lowest cost scenarios, a compliance plan for Michigan was projected to cost even less than a plan that did not factor in the Clean Power Plan's requirements for all.
Well, here's a little takeaway
Yeah.
from the article.
Yeah.
The states embrace a program supporting energy waste reduction, renewable energy, and its reduction of coal-fired electric generators appears to have positioned it well, even though the federal rule did not give the state credit for a large portion of its renewable energy resources.
Right.
So they're winning on.
Yeah.
They're winning on this one.
Yeah. I met a couple from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. They were tourists in Washington, D.C. when I was working down there. And I said, I know how to solve the problems of the federal government, the legislature and all of that. And they said, how? And I didn't know they came from the Upper Peninsula, but I said, relocate the government to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And they were saying, why? And I said, and then you have a constitutional amendment that says no legislator is allowed to vote on anything unless he can prove that he spent the previous night sleeping in a log cabin with a dirt floor. And they said, why Upper Peninsula of Michigan? And I said, because there's not much there. Okay. We are up to Saturday, October 22nd.
Back to Haiti.
Back to Haiti.
In Haiti, a startup is building 100% renewable grids for towns with no power.
Yeah, this is from an organization called Code.exist. You're allowed to do that.
I got a picture coming up.
A year ago, no one living in, I don't know how to pronounce this, Mole-Saint
Give it a try.
Mole St. Nicholas, Haiti.
That's good enough.
There you go. There's a caret over the O in mole. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's anyway. No one in the town had electricity. By spring of 2016, the town had a brand new grid, and it will soon run completely on solar and wind energy. Segura International plans to get electricity to 300,000 people in Haiti by the end of 2017.
That's not very far into the future.
No, this stuff is happening so fast, it's crazy. By the end of 2018, they hope to reach 1 million people. These are people who never had power before.
Never had power? Of course not.
Yep.
This is really amazing.
This article appeared after Hurricane Matthew,
Which devastated Haiti.
Haiti, but that grid was in operation.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Quick takeaway here.
Yeah.
This is a quote from the article. In 6 months, we built from scratch the entire electrical grid of a town of 5,000 people. 6 months. They did it themselves, basically.
Yeah.
It's a massive task. As the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, roughly 75% of Haiti's population is off the grid now. This system clusters several microgrids together, making them a mini-grid.
Yes.
By connecting to a centralized source of power, the system makes renewable power about 33% cheaper than it would be in a typical microgrid.
33%.
So they're putting these things together, and they're saving from the benefit of
just
the
different kinds
grids.
of resources, different resources, solar and wind and so forth.
And the towns each have their own microgrid with a backup generator, so they can be islanded if there's a problem.
Yes. Yeah. And in some places, I don't know what it is in Haiti, but in some places those backup generators run on fuel made from agricultural waste.
They could. They certainly could. They're diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our next item comes from DutchNews.nl.
Government won't give financial support to the Brazil nuclear plant business.
The Dutch cabinet is prepared to help energy company Delta overcome its financial problems, but not by putting money into the Brazil nuclear power plant. Closing the nuclear power plant is not an option because of the 1.3 billion euro price ticket, but keeping the plant open would only be profitable if electricity prices double.
They're up between a rock and a
They're
hard place.
between the rock and the hard place, and it's one of the problems that you've got when you put all your eggs in one basket, which is basically what you've got with nuclear energy. You've got plants that are too big, and even their small modular reactors are too big, in my opinion. Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, there's nothing much to talk about in this one.
Yeah, well, in the next one we have stuff to talk about. This is from Gas2.0.
Yeah, we'll be talking about this one.
Yeah.
This is an interesting
Yeah,
one.
and that, go ahead.
Bloomberg and Fitch Ratings predict oil death spiral as early as 2023.
Yeah, a Fitch Ratings and Bloomberg both warn of a meltdown in the oil industry. The Fitch report warns that this could happen in 2023 based on acceleration of electrification of transport infrastructure, which it says would be resoundingly negative for the oil sector's credit profile. Bloomberg says it might be as late as 2028. But you
There's
know,
a picture up there on the screen
Yes.
of a graph there.
yep,
3 scenarios: 40% growth, 30% growth, 45% growth, and 60% growth.
yep.
And with the
The current
two
growth,
higher ones, they're going to have a crash.
yeah, actually they're going to have a crash with a lower one too. It's
It's
just
off the
that
graph.
it's off the graph. But the 60% growth rate is the current rate for electric vehicles, and that may actually go up.
It probably will.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I wouldn't bet on that going down. I'm not going to bet on it going up either. But it's this is a hard one to guess. But you know, the oil companies are in a really kind of desperate situation here, because they're not making money. Many companies are losing money because the price of oil is low or has been low.
Absolutely.
Many of them have to get it up to above $65 a barrel in order to make money.
And what is it selling for now?
50.
50.
It's
Okay.
been as low as 30.
Yeah, it's been low.
But the problem is, at 30, they were still being outcompeted by renewable energy. So
It's a lose-lose situation.
it's a lose-lose situation, folks. Take my advice. Not that I'm a financial advisor, but don't invest in oil. You know, if you've invested in coal, it's too late. But you know, you could get rid of your oil stock now. Divest. State of Vermont, divest.
Well, here's the takeaway here.
Yeah.
Again, from the article. One thing is certain. Whenever the oil crash comes, it will be only the beginning. Every year that follows will bring more electric cars to the road, less demand for oil.
Yeah.
Someone will be left holding the barrel, no pun intended.
Yes, exactly.
The Fitch Ratings report warns of an investor death spiral.
Well, I think that's what it is, and I think
And finally, they're just saying why this is happening. Electrification of the transportation sector and the rise of distributed renewable power is going to cause some serious financial pain.
and we have to electrify the transportation sector in order to get carbon dioxide under control, and we have to electrify the heat industry, heating as well, which
Yeah,
means
we do.
we get rid of our
Absolutely.
oil, we get rid of our propane, we get rid of our natural gas, we get rid of our gasoline, we get rid of our aviation fuel, we get rid of all of the diesel oil. All of these things are replaced by something else, and honestly, I think most of them should be replaced by electricity. The fact is,
Well, it will happen, but just because of economics.
yeah, it's cheaper to heat a house
Yeah.
with a heat pump now, in most all cases, than
And
it is
from what I've been
using
told
fossil
from
fuels.
people who own electric cars, they're fun to drive.
They're fun to drive. Yeah.
And there's almost no maintenance.
Yes.
Almost nothing.
Well, you don't have to
No
replace.
spark plugs.
You don't have to
No
replace
fuel pump.
your muffler very often.
No muffler. That's something people are just starting to wake up to. These things have virtually no maintenance.
Yes. I was talking with Jason Cooper. I said, "What's maintenance?" He said, "Well, got to replace the windshield wipers." How hard is that? Okay, we're up to Sunday, October 23rd, and we have a picture on this one.
Yeah, we got
There
a
it is.
picture
I just think
here.
that's an odd picture, weird picture.
Well, let's pull it up and we can
There you
analyze it.
go. Wow.
So the article here says India's solar power is set to outshine coal.
This is from an organization called Truth Dig. India wants to provide its entire population with electricity and lift millions out of poverty. But in order to prevent world overheating, it also needs to switch away from fossil fuels. Different analysts disagree on the future of Indian power generation, but solar power costs are dropping, and there is no
This
question
is a
about
different
that.
kind of solar power than we've seen before.
These are reflectors.
These are solar thermal.
Yeah.
Now we've seen solar thermal where there was long troughs
Yes.
heating a pipe.
Yes.
And we've seen solar thermal where there's a bunch of mirrors focused on a tower.
Yep.
This is a different one. Every one of those things is its own little generator.
Okay.
They're dishes like the size we used to have in our backyard to pick up
The
television.
thing that I don't see on those, and maybe it's just my eyes or the photograph just didn't pick it up, but I don't see the place that the mirrors are concentrating the sunlight
It doesn't
on.
seem to. It's got to be there.
It's
So it doesn't
clearly
seem to be
there's-
showing up in
yeah.
the. Well, you can if you look at the ones on the left.
Okay.
You can see the projection in the middle of them sticking up.
Oh, can you? Okay. Yes, I see it.
So that's what's making the power.
Okay.
It's a thermoelectric generator.
Wow. Okay. Move on.
Move on.
Okay. Our next item comes from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
And we got a picture here too.
This is artwork. We have artwork on Energy Week. There it is. You like that
Whoop.
artwork? Whoops. What happened here? Get rid of it.
There you go.
There we go. There's the artwork. There's the coal miner who's.
Yeah, that's if you look closely, that's a coal miner with a coal miner's hat on, and there's a power plant on top of his hat.
Yep.
You can see his eyes.
Okay.
I couldn't figure it out till I saw his eyes.
Yep.
Once you see his eyes, you can't not see them.
Yeah. Okay. He's looking up.
Coal will not recover.
Wow.
Falling prices for other fuels, not regulation, is what's killing coal.
Right. As recently as 10 years ago, coal provided half of America's electric power needs. Today, that number is closer to 30% and falling. Coal is not likely to fade entirely from the scene. I disagree with this. Anytime soon. I think it'll happen very soon. But informed analysts see its share in the U.S. energy mix dropping to less than 20% in the near future. This is from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I will point out, ladies and gentlemen, that although the United States gets less than 2.5% of its power from photovoltaics, Britain gets 5.2%. Go figure. And although Britain got about 80% of its electricity from coal as recently as about 20 years ago, it's getting 4.7% in the first half of 2016. So coal has fallen below PVs in terms of electricity generated in Britain. And that's where
Which is a cold, wet climate.
cold, wet climate. That's where it's going in the United States. I think this thing, coal is crashing, and there's no way Donald Trump, even with federal money that the federal government has, there's no way he is going to be able to revive this industry. Can't be done.
Can't be done.
The federal government does not have enough money to revive the coal industry. And I'm not sure that it has enough money to get Donald Trump to do something reasonable.
Quick takeaway here. Coal does not have a regulation problem as the industry claims. Instead, it has a growing market problem as other technologies are increasingly able to produce electricity at lower cost.
Which is the problem oil and gas
And that
is
trend
getting
is
to.
unlikely to end.
It's not going to end. There's no way. There's no way. And I'll point out, if you love coal and you think that we should revive it, just figure out where we should put the mercury, which now we've got in Lake Champlain, which is why you shouldn't be eating fish in great quantities from Lake Champlain. And if you catch a record trout in Lake Champlain, don't eat it because it's full of mercury.
Well, over in New Hampshire, near where you used to live, there's a river that goes by one of the main roads. I think it's Route 10. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there's a sign right there by the parking area.
It's a beautiful little river, and it looks
You
so
probably know it
clean.
very well.
Well, yeah.
But the sign just says, don't eat fish from this river.
Yeah. because it's polluted. And there are rivers in Vermont that are so polluted that nobody, absolutely nobody, should be eating fish from that river, regardless of how old the fish are, how big they are, what species they are, or whatever.
Don't touch them.
Don't touch them. And every water system in Vermont is polluted as a result of our use of coal. And who is paying for that?
The people.
The people in
that are
Vermont.
getting sick.
That's right. The coal industry did the damage, but they're not paying to clean it up. And
Well, it's a nice deal to have somebody else pick up your garbage.
absolutely, and they pay for it. Okay, we are up to Monday, October 24th, and we have a picture here
Let's put
of
a picture
of
up.
a wind plant. This is from the Omaha World Herald.
The winds of change are howling
Howling.
in the Nebraska energy industry.
With the Obama, sorry about that. With the Omaha Public Power District's closure of its Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant clearing the way, renewable generation will fill the void left by the 478 megawatt plant. OPPD will virtually double the portion of renewable energy it receives by the time the new year rolls around as newly built resources come online.
Interesting backstory here,
Yeah.
because the wind is being produced by BHE Wind.
Okay?
And BHE stands for Berkshire Hathaway Energy,
Yes.
who owns it, but they're selling all their power to OPPD,
Yeah.
which,
Berkshire-
public-private partnership, and it seems to make sense.
Berkshire Hathaway has put a lot of money into wind power.
They have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have.
There it is. So the nuclear power plant, which we mentioned earlier, the Fort Calhoun plant, is gone. It's no longer producing energy. It's going to be permanently closed, and it is being replaced by wind turbines.
Reading this article, there's a lot coming online, and it's all wind.
Yeah,
In that,
in that part of
yeah.
part of the world, and this is an area where the Republicans really have a lot of power politically, but they are not standing in the way of development of wind power, and the reason is because that
It's
keeps
money.
it's money.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Okay, our next item is from Newsday, still Monday, October 24th. What do you got?
Aha.
Aha!
Company proposing big infusion of wind and solar energy for Long Island.
A Chicago green energy developer is proposing the largest infusion of renewable power yet for Long Island, a mix of wind and solar sources in disparate locations as far away as North Carolina and West Virginia. Invenergy already has LIPA approval for a large commercial solar array in Shoreham, New York.
LIPA is Long Island Power Authority. That's the
Right.
utility.
Right,
That's who's buying this stuff.
right. But they're bringing this stuff in. You know, the fact is, in 1996, the DOE did a calculation of how far you could transmit electric power cost effectively.
I don't think there's a limit anymore.
The distance in 1996,
Yeah.
20 years ago, was 2,500 miles for AC power and 4,000 for DC.
Okay, that makes
Now,
sense.
DC power, they had a problem with moving it from one voltage to another. So
They've resolved that.
they've resolved it. But but the distance now with the newest transmission technology is virtually unlimited. We could get our power from the Aleutians. We could get our power from Tierra del Fuego. We could get our power from Australia if the line was in, which of course we're not going to have a power line to any of those places. But
Not a lifetime, anyhow.
nevertheless, the Chinese want to build a worldwide power grid.
Do they really?
Yes, they do.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Well, they do, and they are also outspending the United States 2-to-1 in renewable energy.
This is an interesting project here, though.
Yep.
The developer has made deals with a wind and solar developers in Ohio, 22,000 acres,
Yep.
15,000 acres of wind energy in West Virginia, 18,000 acre wind farm in Pennsylvania, and a 400 acre solar farm in North Carolina.
There you
They're
go.
really going to bring these together into New Jersey
Yes.
and run a cable underseas to Long
To
Island.
Long Island.
Which doesn't often, it really doesn't make sense, but I looked it on a map, it's about 80 miles.
Really?
And that's nothing.
Well, it's
For another more cable-
anymore it's not.
Anymore it's nothing.
Yeah. Okay, we're up to Tuesday, October 25th, and we have got
Yeah,
a
picture
seal.
here.
A seal.
Let's get this guy
This is
up.
from Gizmodo, India. And by the way, this article was, this just happened to be the first copy of it that I came across. It was all over the place.
U.S. court says animals can be listed as threatened species if climate change poses a risk.
This
is a new
is new. In a groundbreaking precedent that is likely to be felt for decades to come, a federal appeals court in the U.S. has ruled that a species can be listed as threatened based on climate change projections. The decision reinstates Endangered Species Act protections for bearded seals, but it also sets an important precedent.
Say that again, because that's the significance of this.
The decision reinstates Endangered Species Act protections for bearded seals, but it also sets an important precedent. And the precedent is, if somebody's under threat from climate change,
They got a right to sue.
they have a right to sue. And guess what, gang? The World Wildlife Federation says we've lost 58% of our species.
Yep.
Not our species, our animals.
Animal species.
Animals, not species, just animals. It's they're
okay,
saying they've
okay.
said
It's
it
the number
earlier.
Of individuals.
Individuals.
Okay.
And they said earlier that they expected that if we don't deal with climate change, we could lose as much as 70% of our species.
Okay.
But here, we're talking about an animal, a species becoming threatened, which doesn't mean that it's of greatest concern or even that it's endangered. It just means threatened. And
Threatened
so
is what they said, yeah.
yeah, threatened. And the
this
World Wildlife Fund is saying moose could be threatened.
They are.
Well, not yet.
Well, they're being eaten by ticks.
They're being killed by ticks,
And the
but
ticks are being spread by warmer temperatures.
by word of mouth.
By word of mouth.
Yeah.
Well, the judges in this decision said that loss of Arctic sea ice would almost certainly threaten the survival of the seals by the end of the century.
Yeah, and you know what? Loss of Arctic seal ice is threatening a lot of species. If this decision is allowed to stand, we could close down the fossil fuels industry just on the basis of it alone.
Well, I give a couple of examples here.
Yeah.
Well, the bearded seals also face threats from proposed offshore oil and gas development areas,
Yeah.
in which an oil spill would be practically impossible to clean up.
Yes.
It's a tough blow for the energy industry, which will have to honor this ESA,
And-
Endangered Species
Yeah.
Act, and rethink its plans in the region.
Yeah.
And according again, there's a little loophole says indigenous Alaskans will still be allowed to harvest the seas
Well,
for subsistence.
in the seals, they'll be able to go after the seals for subsistence.
Well, the article said seas, but it probably meant
It
seals.
meant seals.
I think it did.
The
I'm sure it did.
the other thing that people should understand about this was that this particular decision was unanimous by the judges.
That's interesting.
Left, right, or middle,
That's
they're all
interesting,
voting
yeah.
the same way. And you know what? Those people who are saying, well, the Clean Power Plan is going to get rejected by the Supreme Court. Sorry, the EPA did what it did in that plan because it was told to do it by the federal courts. It didn't have a choice. It didn't want to do those things. So there you go. Move on.
Move on.
Climate Action Program.
The uptake of off-grid solar systems in Africa. This is just another chapter in the
Yes,
book.
that's right. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, 10% of the 600 million people living off-grid in Africa now use solar energy to power their homes. The decreasing prices of home solar systems in Africa have made this possible as the cost of solar has dropped below the cost of diesel and kerosene. This is from Clean Action Program. And it's, like you said, just another chapter in the same book.
Yep.
And I love those pictures that we've had on this show of
The woman with the donkeys.
solar panels that have been put up on the roofs of grass shacks.
huts, yeah.
Wow.
Well, this is interesting. Solar energy is able to power several households for $56 a year. They don't use much energy.
They don't use a
obviously,
lot of
that's
energy, but
that's
you know,
interesting.
the difference between having a little bit of electricity and having no electricity is absolutely big.
Very different, right?
Yeah, and our next item comes from the BBC.
We got a picture coming up.
We do.
Yeah, let's get that picture.
What is
up
that
there.
picture? Let's put it up so everybody can see it.
There it is.
There it is. Air Sampling Station at Mauna Loa Observatory. What do you got for a title on this?
CO2 levels mark a new era in the world's changing climate.
Wow.
This is a scary.
This is scary. While human emissions of CO2 remain fairly static between 2014 and 2015, the onset of strong El Nino weather phenomena caused a spike in levels of the gas in the atmosphere. The spike results from drought conditions in tropical regions produced by El Nino, which meant that vegetation was less able to absorb the CO2.
Interesting in that picture there. That's snow in Hawaii.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's one of those observatories that people get up to in the some part of the year. They're just stuck there. I think that's
Well,
one
they
of
can't
them.
get down.
They
huh?
can't get down, yeah.
That's
I think that's
interesting.
one of them. Anyway, should we move on? We've got to get to Wednesday.
Well, we're almost at Wednesday now, but
Is there a takeaway on this one?
yeah, the last time CO2 was regularly above 400 ppm was 3 to 5 million years ago.
Well, you know, I mean, proves that it's natural.
Yeah, right.
What can I say? We are up to Wednesday, October 26th.
Okay.
We have a
nice,
new
nice
picture.
here. This is a very pretty
Oh,
picture.
I got a lot of people writing me emails about this picture
It's
because
a
it went
very
up on
nice
the
picture.
blog.
New York's Mohawk Preserve goes green.
New York's largest nonprofit nature preserve is growing greener thanks to a new partnership with electric provider Green Mountain Energy Company. The 8,000-acre Mohawk Preserve in Gardner, New York, has signed an agreement with Green Mountain to provide clean electricity to provide its site facilities. This is from
I had
3B.
some problems with this article.
Yeah, 3BL
First of all,
Media.
this Green Mountain is not Green Mountain Power.
It's not.
It's a Texas company.
It's a Texas company that actually, I think, was started by Green Mountain Power.
It was started by people who work for Green Mountain Power.
Okay, there
Yes,
you go.
you're right.
Sort
Back
of.
in 1950 years.
There was one time a relationship
Yeah.
that you could trace. It's gone in the list of
And the
the
other
mist
thing
of
about
the
it
ages.
is, this being a beautiful picture,
Yep.
the Mohawk Preserve doesn't own that land.
No.
It's 8,000 acres. It's fairly large,
Yeah.
but it's all privately owned. But
Oh.
they're, I guess, monitoring it and stuff like that.
Okay.
They've got a nature center.
Yeah.
They've got a visitor center. They got
This
an
is
office building.
kind of like the national park system in the UK, where they declare an area to be a national park, but that doesn't mean that anybody is displaced. They continue to own the land, to live on the land, to
Well,
work as
something
they
like
have.
that. You
yeah.
might call it a private national park or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's
Interesting.
really, it's
Pretty
it's
picture,
still a
though.
nice place to visit.
That
There's the Western Catskills. It's near
Yeah.
New Paltz.
that picture was done by Kate Schoonmaker, or Schoonmaker.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, it says so right on the thing there. She should be congratulated for
Yeah,
that.
it's a good picture.
Nice
Very
picture.
nice picture.
Okay, we're up to an item by the BBC.
The Prince of Wales.
Yeah.
Boy, Jove. The Prince of Wales has lost his tails.
Okay.
The Prince of Wales joins soil boosting project.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one to me. The Prince of Wales is joining an Anglo-French government initiative to improve the condition of global soils. The ministers from both governments are meeting the Prince to discuss how to improve soil health and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from farming. Ministers will debate how to store more carbon in soils.
Well, some of the things they're doing here, I got a little takeaway. Covers for slurry pits,
Yes?
biogas flares,
Yes.
converting slurry to usable methane, improving animal feed, better fertilizer use with more precise dosage, use of manure, and carbon storage in soils using soil cover crops, simple working of the soil, and longer crop rotation.
This is an interesting thing. People don't really think about this, but when you grow grass and you allow it to grow so that it gets long,
Roots.
it puts roots down that can go
That's carbon storage.
That's all carbon storage.
absolutely.
That all puts carbon that is in the air
Back into the
the
soil.
ground. And that was the thing that made the Midwest so rich, and the soil there so black, was the fact that they had long roots from grasses putting carbon into the ground. The grasses would die in the fall. They would fall over. They would decay somewhat over the winter. Then in the spring, new grass would come up, and the old grass would just become part of the soil. And the soil built up at an amazing rate. And in some places, the soil was as much as 12, 15 feet thick. And the farming practice that we've got right now has destroyed that.
Just destroying that.
So our farming, when you hear that farming accounts for a large part of carbon emissions, that's part of the reason.
Oh, absolutely. It was the indirect cause of the Dust Bowl.
Yes, yes, right.
They ruled the soil, and there was nothing left but dust, and the wind took over.
But on the other hand, one of the things that has been found, and this was actually done in Vermont, when you have a herd of cattle, small herd of cattle, say, you keep them in a field, you let them grow the grass, eat the grass down to the ground, and then you move them into the next field and let them eat the grass down to the ground. It turned out that if you let them eat the grass down to about 5 inches tall, 3 inches tall, something like that, it's much better for the cattle because they don't pick up a lot of debris and chomp it with their teeth, wearing their teeth down. And but it also means that the grass can recover faster. So the same group of cattle, if you're going to allow them to eat the grass all the way down, you need 4 fields. But if you're going to prevent them from eating that last 4 or 5 inches, they like the taller grass better anyway. But you can have those cattle on 3 fields instead of 4.
That's interesting.
So
that type of farming is commonplace in the British Isles.
yes,
That's what they do.
yes,
They move the cattle around from field to field. They never plow.
yes.
I mean, they're
Well,
plowing if they're growing something else.
You know this thing about the Prince of Wales and the Duchy of Cornwall. I believe I've mentioned it. Cornwall, as you might know, is a county. It's the southwesternmost county in the UK.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the county of
They all
Cornwall.
talk like pirates.
Yeah, they do. And they're not English. They are Cornish,
They're
and they will
Cornish,
tell
right.
you so. Cornwall is not part of England. It is Cornwall. It's separate.
Yeah.
But the Duchy of Cornwall is a separate entity. It is not the county of Cornwall, and it's all over Western England. It goes there. Most of the county that has the largest amount of the Duchy of Cornwall in it isn't Cornwall. It's
that's
Devon. Okay, and
So there's a duke.
there's a duke,
Yeah.
and guess who the duke is? Prince Charles.
Oh,
And years ago, he told the farmers who were his tenants that they had to grow their food organically.
did he really?
So they've got all this
Really?
food they're producing that's organic, which has got markets all over Europe, or at least
Sure.
until Brexit is formalized. And they've got a measure of prosperity that they never had before.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, isn't it? So anyway, we are up to our last item,
the last item, right.
which is from basically just down the road. This is from Guilford, Vermont,
Well, it is and it isn't.
and it's Vermont Biz. How is it not from Guilford?
That field is up in Dummerston.
That field's in Dummerston. Oh, okay. I thought that was the Guilford Array. Guilford.
The electricity's going to Guilford.
The electricity is going to Guilford. Okay.
Well, VSECU, the Vermont State Employees Credit Union, which
Yeah.
is a nice little credit union up by the Price Chopper
And other places
and
in
other
Vermont.
places. But in Brattleboro, they're here.
We should mention, by the way, that VSECU, the Vermont State Employees Credit Union, is open to anybody who lives or works in Vermont.
That's correct.
So, and you can get some pretty nifty little things from them, like low-cost loans for doing energy conversions.
They're big in that field. They're
They
really
are
good.
indeed.
They got the best loan program for renewable energy in the state.
Aside from maybe Neighbor Works of Western Vermont, or some of the what is it? The efficiency program, the Vermont
Efficiency Vermont.
Efficiency
But
Vermont.
They're not making loans though.
They're not making loans.
What
They
I'm
just-
talking about is
they just
making.
help
If you
with
want
things.
to put up solar,
Yeah,
ask talk to VSECU. They
Right.
might have a good deal for
But
you.
also talk to Green Mountain Power.
Oh, sure.
Because Green Mountain Power is partnered with NeighborWorks of Western Vermont, and they can provide low-cost loans at points in the past, and I don't know if this is still true, but there were times in the past when they had 0% loans for people with low income to get heat pumps, to get whatever insulation and so forth. But anyway, go ahead, Tom. I cut you
Well,
off.
Veseco, I think I read it, didn't I?
Did you?
Veseco Goes Solar unveils new array to offset electricity consumption.
Okay.
It's offsetting their own electricity consumption
Right.
because they're a statewide entity.
Okay. Tom calls it Veseco. I call it VSECU, a member-owned co-op and not-for-profit credit union for everybody in Vermont. This reminds me of Milo Binder in Catch 22. Everybody owns a share. Is going solar. VSECU entered an innovative partnership with Sovereign Solar, which of course is Peter Thorell's thing. Through
They're out of Putney.
Yeah, I guess. But they're also local in
Oh yeah,
Windham County.
they got arrays like this in several locations in the county.
Through which the credit union will purchase solar net metering credits produced by a 500 kilowatt solar array to offset its GMP power bill. What do you think of that?
I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Did you put it up on the thing so people can see it? Let's do that.
Oh, I thought. Yeah,
There you go.
I thought I had it up there.
Well,
I didn't. No.
Okay. And that field, as a person who lived on the top of a mountain once and was very familiar with mountains, that field looks to me like it's just too steep to be used for much aside of pasturage.
I was going to say grazing probably.
Grazing.
Probably too steep to grow corn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the UK, this is another thing that's interesting. In the UK, you see sheep grazing under the solar panels in many, many places.
They don't seem to bother
No, they don't care.
at all.
I wouldn't put goats under there, but primarily because they'd want to walk on the solar panels and they'd bite the
I
lines.
think this is accessible from Route 5 heading north out of Dummerston.
Okay.
It's on the left-hand side. I haven't been in there, but there's a sign there that says Sovereign.
Oh, really?
And I know they have a solar panel back in
Okay.
there, so I think that's what it is.
Okay. I had thought this was off Creamery Road. in
Well, you
Guilford.
might be right. They have more than one.
Well, they've got a bunch.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this brings us to the end of despite my rant at the beginning of this brings us to the end of our hour. So.
Well, this is interesting here, and I haven't figured this one out.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Veseco is a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Somebody else is involved in this as a nonprofit, but they're getting tax write-offs. I haven't figured out how they're doing
The
that.
way that they do a lot of this stuff is the array is not owned by the nonprofit. It's owned by the installer, or it's owned by a financer, or
Third party
it's
owned.
owned by some third party that can write everything down, and then I forget the name of the organization, but there's an organization that does this that's based in Massachusetts. They will actually go in, put in solar for a high school, for example, or a hospital or something. They'll put in the solar system. They will do other things too. I saw in one of their installations, they not only put in a solar system, but they also rebuilt the floor of the gymnasium.
That was UMass.
No,
We talked about UMass.
this was
too, didn't we?
this is a
Another
place in Michigan or
Okay.
something like that. And I wish I could remember the name of the organization. But the thing that's interesting about this is that the organization that did that bills the high school for the cost of the electricity during the time that they write the electric thing down.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're all done, they've made enough money. They're a B Corp. They've made enough money.
To give the array.
And they basically give the array or sell the array for $1
Yeah.
to the organization. So the high school will pay almost as much money as it normally does for 7 years or 8 years or whatever, 7 years typically, and then
Then it's free.
it's free. The electricity becomes free. We're seeing a change in the underlying structure of the entire energy producing and economic system. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the road. So
I
I'm
think we
going
have.
to I'm going to say
For today, anyhow.
Yeah, I'm going to say good night, and Tom is going to say good
Good
night.
night.
We'll say good night together, and we hope to see you next time.
What a hope gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.